On the news tonight, President Muhammadu Buhari attends swearing-in of Gambia President. Ogun Chief Judge pardons 20 inmates. Football enthusiast says chances of Super Eagles winning AFCON is getting brighter. Good evening and welcome to NTA Ijebu ode News 7 on Motola Adoka Ugundile, and here are the details of the news. President Adama Barrow of the Gambia has been sworn in for his second time in office. President Muhammadu Buhari, who tremendously supported the Gambia in safeguarding democratic order in 2017, was a special guest of honor at the ceremony. State House correspondent Adamu Sambo has the details of this report.
President Adama Barrow's inauguration for his first term in office was held in the Gambian embassy in Dakar, Senegal. The then president, Yahya Jammeh, refused to step down despite losing the December 1, 2016 election, thereby deepening political crisis. President Muhammadu Buhari's Nigeria played a leading role in safeguarding democratic order as well as the restoration of normalcy in the country. The Gambian leader's re-election for a second term in office therefore provided another opportunity for him to be sworn in, this time in the heart of Banjul amidst pomp and pageantry. At a historic and remarkable event attended by several heads of state and government, President Adama Barrow pledged to sustain efforts at achieving a sustainable future for the Gambia, together in unity, peace and prosperity. In an earlier congratulatory message, President Muhammadu Buhari described President Barrow's re-election as a testimony to the trust and confidence he rightfully earned from the Gambians, and therefore an opportunity to consolidate gains achieved so far and strengthen initiatives for citizen development, a key fundamental for peace and stability. He said Nigeria, which supported the restoration of democracy in the Gambia, will remain resolute towards ensuring that it is sustained. The president promised that his administration will also retain its support to the Gambia's government efforts at strengthening its judicial sector as well as establishing strong economic institutions. Foreign Affairs Minister Geoffrey Onyema speaks on the significance of President Buhari's attendance at the presidential inaugural ceremony.
You recall some years back that the then president, Jammeh, was not willing to respect the election results. And Mr. President was the one that gave the directives for a land, air and sea move towards the Gambia. And of course this was the moment when Jammeh now left the country. So Mr. President was very much at the front and center of the retention of the democratic process and culture here in the Gambia. So, you know, it's very, not just symbolic, but also, you know, significant that the person who made this possible should be here to see and, you know, and appreciate the fruits of his very decisive leadership.
President Buhari has since returned to Nigeria. Adamu Sambo, NTA News.
Congratulations to the Gambian president. Sequel to the achievement recorded with Anchor Borrowers Initiative, the federal government again demonstrated its emphasis on the repositioning of agriculture as the Federal Executive Council at its meeting this Wednesday gave approval for the provision of farm input and equipment worth billions of naira to boost the National Youth Farmers Scheme. State House correspondent Jide Onifadi has the details of this report.
The National Young Farmers Scheme is an initiative of the National Agricultural Land Development Authority to engage 1,000 youth in each of the 774 local government areas in agriculture. One of the memos presented and approved was for the provision of various agricultural inputs and farm equipment for the National Young Farmers Scheme.
Food security of this country actually depends on when we take charge of our production. And the federal government is not just investing or promoting rice; it's promoting 23 other crops. And this is another example of how we are trying to penetrate down to encourage our farmers, our young people to own land. We give them land, we prepare the land for them. We also give them equipment, and fertilizers and other agri products to ensure that we have food security.
14 new projects were approved by the Council for the Ecological Office for erosion, flood control and road improvement works.
These projects are divided across the 6 geographical zones.
Minister of Transportation, Rotimi Amechi, got approval for the 4 memoranda he brought before the Federal Executive Council.
The first one has to do with the clearing of equipments we bought for the Deep Blue project, which will enable us to site some of these projects in the coastal towns along the Nigerian coast. 2,785,856,131 naira. The federal government has approved a contract for the reconstruction of the narrow gauge track from Minna to Baro.
It would be recalled that the Vice President earlier this week inaugurated a committee to oversee and monitor the implementation of the Deep Blue project.
Presented 2 memos. All of them are for road projects, which keys into the FCT administration and Mr. President's desire to prioritize infrastructure projects. The first one is the approval for the award of contract for the full scope development of the FCT Highway number 105. Highway number 105 is popularly known as the Kuje Road. That's the road that links Kuje satellite town with the interchange at Kiami. Second one is the road leading to one of the rail stations along the Abuja city rail system, and that is the station at Bazango. Bazango is a community within Buhari.
The meeting was presided over by Vice President Yemi Osinbajo. In the State House, Jide Onifade, NTA News.
Ogun State Chief Judge Justice Musumola Dikpeolu has pardoned 20 inmates to discongest correctional center across the state. The inmates secured their freedom at the quarterly jail delivery exercise by the Ogun State Judiciary Armed at decongesting correctional centers and curbing delays in the administration of justice in the state. Ijebu ode has the details of this report.
Prior to the outbreak of COVID-19 pandemic in Nigeria, the chief judge in Ogun State usually visits correctional centers to grant amnesty to inmates as part of efforts to decongest correctional centers. To continue with this exercise amidst COVID-19 pandemic, Ogun State Judiciary opted for a quarterly jail delivery exercise where stakeholders will meet under the chairmanship of Justice Musumola Dikpeolu and fine-tune the process, which she described as measure to decongest correctional centers and enhance quick dispensation of justice.
Sometimes, for good reasons, lawyers are not in court. The court will have to adjourn. Sometimes, for good reasons, a judge is not able to sit. We are all human beings. If you are ill, you cannot walk. So, in a way, there's still justice being delayed. But as much as possible, we are trying to mitigate that.
One of the lucky inmates, Sunday Alao, a 60-year-old man, is in pretrial detention for alleged robbery.
So I think there is a wide gap between the judiciary and those that are kept there. And that wide gap is what we are feeling.
Honestly, this is the best delivery exercise that we have been involved in. And on this note, I want to appreciate the efforts of Justice Dikpeolu.
Justice Dikpeolu, who lamented the overcrowded state of correctional centers in the state, advised the pardoned inmates to make the best of the amnesty and shun criminal activities that can bring them back to detention. In Abeokuta, Ijebu ode, NTA News.
You're still watching NTA Ijebu ode News. Do stay with us, don't worry.
Fake news which is shared for malicious purposes is a danger to our peace and security in Nigeria. Misinformation as fake news is a serious threat to our hard-earned democracy and promotes hatred and misunderstanding between our communities. We are all responsible for stopping the spread of fake news in its tracks. So, always check the source and credibility of any news item. Say no to fake news. This message is brought to you by the Federal Ministry of Information.
Welcome back. The fight against the use of illicit drugs and substance abuse by the federal government is achieving positive results so far and needs to be sustained through collaborative efforts. This is a resolution of participants at a sensitization program on drug abuse and its consequence in Lafayette. Charity Ashke reports that the program is at the instance of National Orientation Agency.
It is no longer news that despite efforts by security agencies, social vices and crimes have continued to pose threats to the socio-economic fabrics of the country. Apart from other factors, consumption of illicit drugs is readily fingered as a motivation to the upsurge of crime. The one-day sensitization program is to reawaken the consciousness of all stakeholders to this danger in order to scale up measures at curtailing it.
It is strategic for us to do this in this year 2022 and at the beginning of the year, because it's a pre-election year and all the activities are already being heightened up towards election.
The drug trade is the second most lucrative industry in the world, following arms trade but preceding oil.
For the security agencies, this reality calls for synergy.
So this sensitization, I think, is timely because we need to put heads together and ensure that these activities are checkmated.
Other stakeholders who decry the effects of drugs on the society says it takes the efforts of all to reawaken the society to this reality.
Could not have come at a later time than now, considering the incidence of drug abuse, political thuggery, kidnapping, and other vices that bedeviled the nation.
This is a thing of concern and a thing that the society as a whole must take time to address.
In Lafayette, Charity Ashke, NTA News.
Nigerians have described the Super Eagles' 2-0 victory over boastful Guinea-Bissau as an indication that the team is fully determined to win the much-coveted AFCON title in Cameroon. Some football enthusiasts who spoke to NTA expressed their delight in the 100% record of the Super Eagles, who finished top on Group D with 9 maximum points. The report.
I was actually expecting like 5-0 or something, because we'll be Guinea-Bissau at first. This is Nigeria, the giant of Africa. So Nigeria, baby. So after that, I was hearing something about the number 15 that we have. I think that's Simons, and he's like the best player in the team, because he's actually working very hard for the team. So, and 2-0 is not bad as a result for a tough match, because I don't think they are really tough, but then they were throwing tantrums on Twitter and stuff like that. So we got them.
Because they even told us that if they didn't win Nigeria, they are going to die. And we really appreciate Nigerian players, I mean Super Eagles, for what they did yesterday. And they really showed that at least if you want to die, you die here. So yeah.
Well, to be candid, it's like Nigeria, we are getting there, because it's as if we need to promote these local coaches. You can see the way, because they used to these players, they used to watch their matches, because they are the one that brought these players. We know them from the grassroots before they get to the top. So they always monitor them. So that's why it's so much very interesting when we put our local coaches they know how to speak with these players and how to come and do it for me. So and the patriotism will also be there. So that is what we reflect in this present Super Eagles led by Austin Iguavon, the Zerezo. So you can see the performance is quite different when we have any foreign coaches. So
congratulations to Nigerians once again. And that does it on the news for tonight. Before we go, let's take a look at some of the major stories. President Muhammadu Buhari attends swearing in of Gambian President. Ogun State Chief Judge pardons 20 inmates. Football enthusiast says chances of Super Eagles winning AFCON is getting brighter. The Yoruba translation of the news will come up immediately with Abiodun Ajibola. Do stay with us, Nobu.